Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Easter Shore Talk, your podcast for all things self care and movies. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. We're glad to have you. This is episode 55. I'm Jay Watson.
And I'm Cathy Castle.
And tonight, Cathy and I are going to talk about the importance of sleep as a vital part of self care. But before we do that, we're going to do the usual and do a little check in. So, what's going on with the Castle?
Hey, hey. Well, I've been camper prepping this week because we're going on a trip. We're going on a trip this weekend down to near the beach. So, Marty's tired of Amazon boxes coming to the house. I promised him yesterday there's no more, but there might be one tomorrow. Yeah.
or a check marker.
That's what I should do. I should start switching where they're going to. So, I would say that's a big form of self-care for us, is to get out in nature when we go on these camping trips in our little campers and living a simple life, cooking outside, being together. Yeah. So the season's starting and I'm ready to go. It's supposed to be warm on Saturday.
Yeah, well, it was one day. It was like going to be in the 70s, like 75 or something.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
yeah.
But it'll be 40 3 days after that, I'm sure.
I know. Well, it'll be when we're out on the baseball field. It'll be like -25.
Yeah, winds always, every time, wind always blows in the beginning of baseball season, always.
It does. What the heck?
Doesn't blow any other time, but it blows 30 miles an hour.
You got to hold on to your wig. Like, it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. In baseball season, like the high school season, when the season starts, everybody's bundled all up. And at the very end, if you're in the playoffs and you're at the end, you're sweating and you're overheat. I mean, it's the craziest thing.
You live the whole seasons in baseball. It is so
true. It's so weird. And I remember watching some high school soccer, and in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be cold.
It's opposite. It starts out.
Yes, it's you're in shorts at the beginning of the season, and you're bundled up in the park at the end of the season.
I've learned during those seasons, I had to keep a multitude of things in my car, from UGG boots, very lined UGG boots, to blankets, all kinds of things. Because, whew. Yeah. How about you? What's going on?
Yeah, I've just been enjoying just like of course, yesterday it rained the whole day.
Yeah, wasn't that a Monday? It was a very Monday.
But what happened was I noticed a lot of trees were blooming today. Yeah. The sun came out. You see all the pink and white blooms on the dogwood trees and cherry trees and stuff.
Allergies coming out.
I mean, it's no Washington D.C., the basin. It's not like that, but it's some pretty neat looking colors around here right now.
It just reminded me. I always say every year I want to go see those cherry trees, and I never do.
It's right. It's probably going on right now.
It's probably right now. Yeah. I'm gonna miss it. That's why I miss it every year.
They have like a festival and everything for it.
I want to see the pandas as well over there. The new pandas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're taking it.
I've been kind of really trying to get the thing straight for the Easter Shore Self Care Expo coming September 13th, 8 to 12, Talbot County Community Center. Mm-hmm. So if you're a provider or you're just someone who wants to go out and kind of see what all kind of self-care, wellness, and mental health providers and services there are in our area, we'll have lots and lots of those. And yeah, it'll just be a nice way for everybody in the wellness and self-care community to kind of connect with the folks around here. So that'll be good. So yeah, we're going to talk tonight about, as I discovered a while back doing some research, the most important physical part of the body part of self-care, according to a lot of the places that I've looked online. The most important thing was sleep for the body. So we're going to jump into that tonight. And as usual, Cathy's got not only an article, but she's got some notes from
some
training things that she's been doing about sleep. So, and I'm going to kind of draw on some previous experience with being a personal trainer. But we're going to talk about some sleep tonight.
I got some good notes and slides.
Hopefully we won't put you to sleep by talking about sleep.
Oh, yeah. Don't go to sleep. Or unless you really need it. Then you can go to sleep. But sleep is something that I've been very interested in lately, and because I'm always off on some kind of personal research journey, reading about something that has to do with self-care, and it's just really occurring to me how sleep is so critical to talk about with self-care. And I feel like every one of us has an idea of what we think we need. Like if like I know for me personally, I need a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I know that, I mean, I can tell you facts about myself. I know that if I'm not a late sleeper, never have been, not even as a teen really. Like if I slept past 9 o'clock in the morning, I would probably have a headache and I feel like I've wasted the day, you know? And I'm not a late nighter. Well, I used to be. I'm not anymore.
Right.
So, you know, I know facts about myself. And I think if you ask people, sometimes I ask people weird questions. Maybe it's my field, I don't know. But people say, "Oh yeah, I only need 4 hours of sleep," or I'm fine off of 6 hours of sleep.
I
People
can
have
get by
opinions,
with that. Yeah.
and then I have opinions, but I don't always say my opinions. But yeah, so I am part of. I'll tell you what, and I don't have the link. I should, but Maryland has a. I think it's a pretty good. I'm going to say Department of Suicide Prevention. And that is not what they're called right now. But if you Googled Maryland suicide prevention initiatives or whatever, they have some good, they just have some good information, and not just about suicide in itself, but about there's a lot of self-care information on there because the idea is if we put prevention and education and work on our self-care, then we're hoping we're helping people obviously be better in mind, the mental health piece, body, and our soul or spiritual. But you got to put all that stuff together, right? You got to learn all of it. You got to learn all the things. So I thought it might be good for me to go through some of these slides. And let me say this, I am not a sleep expert, so let me not, don't anybody come get me if I've said something that's not, that you're like, that's not accurate. I'm doing the best I can to give some information about what I have, been to this training, share some information from this training or from what I've seen myself. So let's learn some things together. So this is an interesting statement that was made, and this, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. The doctor, and he's got a million acronyms after his name. I'm not even going to say it, but his name is Michael A. Gradner, Grandner, Grandner maybe, Michael Grandner, and he's a lot of things. He's associate professor of this and that, University of Arizona College of Medicine, director of sleep and health research. He's just got a lot after his title. This guy was pretty amazing, actually. He's got a website, michaelgrandner.com. But he says this first slide is sleep is a non-negotiable. I love that. It is a non-negotiable biological state required for the maintenance of human life. Our need for sleep parallels that for air, food, and water. That's pretty bold. That's a pretty bold statement, don't you think?
Yeah, it's funny. One of those you kind of hit on one of the things that I would tell my clients when I was personal training is, and you touched on. He says, I used to tell them your body is like school, and when you're sleeping, it's summertime. So that what happens at a school when during summertime, the maintenance folks get in there and they do all the stuff at school because there's no kids there. They can get in there and do a lot of the maintenance and repairs on the school because there's nothing else going on. Your
Yeah.
body, it you're semi hibernating. You're a lot of the things that the body's doing during the day shut down or drastically decrease while you're sleeping. So the body now has the energy to do maintenance and repair,
Yeah.
especially like in the case of like if you're working out to build muscle. What's happening is if you're working out hard, you're actually um, injuring the muscle fiber on a microscopic level. You're tearing the muscle fiber microscopically. That's why you wake up sore the next day or whatever. And what happens is your body, in response to that, not only repairs, but it says, okay, hold on. If he's going to be doing this, he or she's going to be doing this on a regular basis, I need to do something to adapt to this. So that's what charges the muscle building process. And Not only that, but things like your body can now address inflammation in the body. If you've got because your body's doing all these other processes during your day, it doesn't have as much energy to put towards those kind of things. So while you're kind of shut down during the night when you're sleeping, now your body can address inflammation. Your immune system is boosted up while you're asleep.
Percent.
It's if you're put it this way, there's no magic pill or magic thing that prevents any of us from ever getting sick, but getting good regular sleep goes a long way to keeping your immune system at a higher level
Yeah.
of rejecting different things. Um,
Well, tell me if you agree with this. We've already said sleep's non-negotiable. It's a biological state. You've talked about, and we will talk more about some of those things you just talked about with your immune system and the work you're doing, your body's doing while you sleep. But
yep,
this guy argues, and I agree with this. So we're saying it's a biological need. It's not negotiable, right? Yet, but there's a but, right? We live in a society that sees sleep as an unproductive use of time. Do you agree with that? Like that there's societal pressures that devalue sleep.
I do think that there's a stigma around that because think about it.
How do we
If
get to that?
you're someone that let's just say you're someone that sleeps 10 hours regularly.
Somebody's going to say
What are people going to
you're
label you
lazy.
as?
You're
Yes,
lazy.
you're lazy. That's the first thing they're going to
You're
think.
lazy. Well, let's
Um,
pause for that a minute. Let's just
yep,
pause a minute. That's just wild, right? Like we have to, I mean, I don't think people think about sleep. I don't think really that's why we're doing this episode because we
yep,
want people to think about it. But you're right. We have to do it. And sometimes you can't, I mean, your body's going to do what it needs to do, right? If you're a different, maybe you're a teenage and you need that sleep, like your body's putting it all together. You need more than maybe I need at our point in life. But yeah, people will say, "Oh, you're lazy.
yep.
You're lazy." So to me, it's just crazy. But what this guy is saying is we're finding that there's kind of a reawakening to the importance of sleep health. Um, And I'll say this out of the gate because this was a big thing that I took from this. This guy said, there's not only is there's stigma, like you just said, around sleeping too much, but there's stigma to getting mental health treatment, right? So he said a really good way to get people to taking better care of themselves, whether it's, therapy or whatever it is. It doesn't just have to be therapy. That people don't want to talk about their mental health, their anxieties, their depression. They don't want to talk about that always, right? But they will agree to talk about their sleep.
Yep.
So if you can get them to talk about that, then it's kind of like a gateway. If you can get them to open up about sleep, then maybe they'd be willing to talk about my relationship, feel a little sad, my drinking problem. Maybe it leads into other things.
They're cause and effect. If you're having some kind of stress or anxiety, or to be more specific, if you're lacking in your self care, you're tense at night, so you're going to have insomnia, or you're not going to sleep well. So
Yeah.
now you've thrown. So not only is it's a kind of a symbiotic relationship, self care and sleep, because sleep is vital to self care, but you need to be doing other self care in order to be able to sleep well for it to be a good activity of self care. It's a
Yeah.
kind of vicious circle.
So let's do a little data. And this is from 2016 at this point, but I would imagine this trainer was giving it because it's still relevant. So how many hours would you say we really need a night? Just the
I'm gonna
average. Now, I'm
I'm
not
gonna say
talking about little kids or teenagers, but just your
I'm gonna
average
say
adult.
7 and 9 is kind of what most
Yeah.
humans on average should have.
Yeah, you're right. And here's the funny thing. So it's really 7 to 8 is where the highest percentage of sleep. But here's the sad part. 29% get 7 hours, 28% get 8 hours. So the next category is 6 hours, and that's in the 23%. And then, it goes down
Yeah.
with, shoot, you even have 3.2% of the population that gets 4 hours. 7.75 gets 5 hours.
What's the percentage over 8? Do they go
Yeah.
above 8?
4.4% gets 9, 2.35 gets 10, and 1.27. They're kind of even on each side.
Now,
Gets
here's what's
somewhere
funny,
like,
Kathy. How is it that so many people are being called lazy when only 2% of people are sleeping over 8 hours?
good point. Good point. Good point. Right?
That's my analytical mind.
And then there's some interesting things about sleep, if you think about it. It's naturally reoccurring. It happens. It just happens, right?
Sometimes you don't even mean to go to sleep when you fall asleep.
Like in a movie.
Yep.
It's you're in a reduced or absent state of consciousness, right? But the funny thing about that state of unconsciousness is your senses still work.
Yep.
Your senses still work. And then I guess depending on who you are, there's some things you'll hear and some things you won't hear. Like us women swear that every male that has had a child with us has selective hearing in the middle of the night about hearing a child. That's what
Right.
we think. I know that's probably not accurate, but that's what we think. And then and the other weird thing is, in this unconscious state, it's reversible. Like if you're put out for, a surgical procedure or something, you gotta wean out of it, right? But it's reversible. You can wake up scared as you know what and just jump out of bed.
Yep.
I mean, there's really some bizarre things that can be reversed. She said the average person wakes up 10 to 20 times a night, but you may not realize that because you go right back asleep.
You
But
may not actually get up, but
yeah,
you wake up. Yeah.
and you have that 90-minute sleep cycle. Now, I'll talk a little bit later about problems, but let me see. Because he had some good stuff about insomnia. You kind of said this, Jay. Sleep health means a lot of things. Sleep in itself affects our metabolic health,
Yep.
our cardiovascular health, our immune system, our mental health, and our cognitive health, our brain.
Yep.
So those are pretty important features in our physical body, right?
Yep.
So you better be sleeping. Don't let anybody tell you you're lazy for working on your
Yeah.
all those things.
Not only that, Kathy, but I forgot to mention that you actually burn more fat while you're sleeping than while you're awake.
Well, okay, I need to sleep more, clearly. But I know that for me personally, I'm always probably about 2 pounds lighter if I weigh myself in the morning than at night.
Yeah. Everybody is.
And the kids will say they can burn more than that in the middle of the night. I'm like, dangers, how do I get that? How do I do that? How fun would you got?
It has nothing to do with that you slept though. That's not. Yeah.
It's your body.
It's because di- you've digested. If you weighed yourself at the minute you fell asleep and the minute you woke up, there wouldn't be any noticeable difference. But yet, if I weigh myself at the moment I wake up in the morning, because I weigh myself often when I go to the gym. If I go and I go to the gym on the Saturday morning, I'll weigh like a pound and a half less on Saturday morning than if I go at 5 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. And it's because haven't eaten a
Yeah,
pound and a half's worth of food throughout the
right.
day that's there.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's not. Yeah, it's not anything. It's pretty. That's explainable. It's
So
no. The Keebler elves aren't inside your body taking that weight away.
dang, I wish
Although
they
you do,
were.
like I said, you do burn fat more at night sleeping than when you're awake.
All right, so let me tell you a couple statistics that I thought was a little scary. For those who get 6 hours of sleep or less, right? 6 or less, you are 55% more likely to become overweight. 55%. You are 21% more likely to develop high blood pressure. And you're 33% more likely to develop diabetes, which I assume is type 2.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant numbers.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And like you already said, sleep affects inflammation in our hormones. So lack of sleep increases inflammation. And the hormone systems that our body needs to regulate uh, rely on to okay, the hormone systems that regulate body functions need sleep. They need the sleep to fuel that up. So um, inflammation, and maybe you've talked about that with your training, but
Yep.
inflammation is a dirty word, right?
Yep. It is, and it's there's the surface level inflammation, and then there's the internal inflammation around your organs that is not, you don't see. That's the most dangerous. It's like it's just like I said. You are all your body systems are repairing and maintaining while you're asleep. And just think about it. If like I used school as the analogy, if the kids only were off of school for a week during the summer, well, the building and all would probably eventually fall apart, because if you've only got a week to do all the repairs and maintenance in the school, you don't get to all the repairs and maintenance that are required. Same thing with sleep. If you're only sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, that's all the repairing and maintaining that your body's getting at night. But if you're sleeping 7 or 8, think about that. Just think of, if you're getting 5 hours of sleep and you're getting 8 hours of sleep, now that's an extra 60% maintenance and repairing each night that you're putting towards your body. Think about it that way, because 8 is 60% more than 5 is. So if you go from 5 to 8, and you might think, well, that's only 3 hours, but it's you're putting 60% more maintenance and repair every single night to your body, not
So
just
there is Keebler elves in there working.
metaphorical. Yes,
And look,
yes,
they got some hammers and chisels. Well, look at this. I don't know if you're. I sleep with my Apple Watch because I like to look at the data. I don't know. I mean, and
yeah.
other
I
people I've
don't. You
seen.
would think I would, but I
I know,
don't.
right? I like the data from the watch. Other people I've seen have those rings. I forget what they're called now that take a lot of body metrics.
Yeah.
But like I can tell, I track my sleep. I look at my sleep every single morning. I see how much deep sleep I have. I see how much I was awake. And then I feel cheated if I didn't get much deep sleep last night, and I feel cheated. I'm mad. I'm mad at my body at that point. But what this researcher said is the REM part of sleep, rapid eye movement, lighter
Mm-hmm.
sleep, your body is processing emotions, right? And your memory stuff. So I guess that's where, when we say we have dreams, like, why did I dream about that? You
Oh,
probably thought about that during the day, right?
I am the mad dreamer. Like, I dream crazy,
So
like crazy,
your REM is busy. You got a busy REM.
and I sleepwalk. Well, let's just
Do
say
you?
I used to sleepwalk bad, like
Mm,
bad, bad. I've got some crazy sleepwalking stories, like crazy stories.
I do with the kids too, but we'll save that for offline. But may or may not involve a trash can. That's what I'm gonna say. Um,
Mine involved being almost naked in Ocean City out in the parking lot.
ugh.
I would have rather had a trash can.
Yeah, they thought it was a toilet. Anyway, so during the deep sleep, that is when our brain is really doing a lot of work, and it's clearing waste. It's repairing a lot of stuff in that deep sleep. So, like, for me, when I watch my deep sleep, it's anywhere from probably 20 minutes to like 50, 55. I don't know why. I cannot get over that hour at this point in my life. And I'm sure at different ages and hormones and all kinds of things affects, sleep. I did read that your most, or he must have said it. Between the ages of women anyway, between 45 and 60 is when there's the most hormonal changes, which affects sleep, and then you start to sleep better after 60.
Yeah.
So that's a whole interesting thing. And women have a lot going on with
Oh
pregnancy
yeah.
and hormonal
Yeah.
stuff. But anyway, um, poor sleep quality and mental health. So poor sleep quality is associated with worse mental health, including depressed mood, anxiety symptoms. It may increase risk of suicidal thoughts. Um, Obviously, if you have poor sleep quality, you're going to feel exhausted, overwhelmed, fatigued. So that there's a lot going on if we're not sleeping that affects us mentally. And I did not realize the amount of that suicidal thoughts increase after midnight. I really did not realize personally, even though I've been in the field a long time, that between 12 and 4 a.m. there's a lot going on. And there's a lot of things, we know this, that affect sleep. We just talked about some of it: hormone, pain, physical health conditions,
Yep.
um,
Stress, anxiety. Yeah.
stress, burdens, financial burdens, right? Relationship problems. Yeah. All right. Let me get to where I want to get next. I thought this was interesting. Maybe this is obvious to you. Loss in sleep increases pain perception, sensations of pain, and the impact associated with pain sensations. I hadn't really heard that before.
Because your nervous system doesn't get a chance to
It's
regenerate.
not settled.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
hasn't repaired things. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Um, Maybe this is an obvious one. I don't know. But poor sleep health is associated with increased likelihood of poverty, lower household income, um, also associated with financial stress, food insecurity. It's also associated with unemployment and suboptimal living conditions. So, you know, I guess we call in my field the social determinants of health. If people have a safe place to live and food to eat and transportation and access to health care and did I already say live in a,
Fewer stressors.
yeah, that they're going to sleep better, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. And then really, so with us in my field, we use something called the DSM-5 for diagnosis, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. And really, sleep disturbance you will see associated with just about every single diagnosis across the board in that book. Uh, Insomnia. Yeah. So insomnia is probably a good thing to talk about. I don't know if you have much work with that, Jay.
Well, well, it's so funny. Like up until I'm going to say 6 or 7 years ago, I was a terrible sleeper. I very seldom had issues with insomnia. In other words, if I decided, okay, I'm going to bed now, almost always I'd be asleep within 5 minutes. Almost always. I never, or I should say, very rarely had trouble falling asleep initially. But I would be up literally like every hour, all night, every hour. And um, had some health issues, had them addressed.
Oh yeah.
Um, just kind of just reduced stress in my life generally in a lot of ways. And now it's like I'm almost like clockwork, Kathy. Very seldom do sleep through the night. I don't think very many people do sleep straight 7 hours all the way through.
No. Well,
But
you're in a 90-minute cycle, which is
but
normal.
what my pattern is now is
And when we get older, we have to pee.
yeah, that's the reason why I get up,
Players.
and it's always 3 or 4 o'clock, always every
Right?
night, 3 or 4 o'clock. I
Well,
got to get up and pee.
do you
But
know that
that's the only time I get up the whole night. It's just that
you
one
know
time.
that 4 o'clock time frame? Our bodies is starting to switch, and I'm not going to use the proper terminology, but we're starting to switch gears into that wake up mode.
Yeah.
We're like, we're shifting gears in my mind. We're done with all the deep stuff, and
Yeah.
now we're preparing to get up. So maybe that's our, natural rhythm. So I wonder if we notice we got to pee more when we're starting to move to the
Well, part
sleep.
of it is the meds I'm on. It
Yeah.
promotes, the fluid pills. It promotes that anyway. But I'm one who, like, I try to get 7. I would say during the work week I get 7. Saturday or Friday night and Saturday night I probably get a little bit more than that. And I intentionally say, okay, I'm setting my clock for this time, so I need to be asleep 7 hours before that or more. Um, and it's funny, probably maybe once or twice during the week, my alarm clock actually wakes me up. All the other mornings, I'll roll over and look, and it's 15 minutes from the time. Like
Yeah.
most of the time,
I don't set an alarm anymore.
I do because I'm just anal that way. Um,
I mean, I have it, but I'm always up before it.
right, and there are still a couple days during the week, throughout 7 days, where it wakes me up. My alarm wakes me up, but 5 out of 7 days, and it's not like I wake up and it's 2 hours to go. It's normally within 15 to 20 minutes. So I'm like, there's no sense in going back to sleep
But
for 15 or
I'm
20
mad
minutes.
either way. If I have a natural alarm set on my phone, watch, whatever, for 7 a.m. If I wake up at 5, I'm like, darn. If I wake up at 6:45, I'm like, darn. It doesn't matter. Either way, I'm either mad because I'm up and can I go back to sleep, or I'm mad because I got to get up.
It's weird how our perceptions of sleep change from a night sleep versus taking a nap. In other words, like, to me,
Yeah.
it doesn't make, like, there are those people that hit the snooze button for 10. I'm like, what sense does that
No,
make? I'm like,
I'm not a snooze button hitter.
no, I've never done that in my
It
life.
just makes me angry.
Like, if and like an hour is kind of like that golden thing to me. Like, if I've still
Mhm.
got an hour left to go to sleep, I'll go back to sleep. Anything under that, I'll just wake up.
You just
And the
fire them
same
up.
with a nap. Like, it doesn't make any sense. People talk about power naps. Me personally, some people swear by them. I don't think there's such a thing. You can't sleep for 10, 15 minutes and be like, oh, took a pill and I'm miraculously recharged and I can go forever. I don't think that exists. Because to me, I'm just getting warmed up to sleep deeper at
Well,
15 minutes.
and I think the older people get that naps are helpful for a little quick charge. Now, I'm not a person that a nap quick charges me. It makes me, I'm angry. If I nap,
I get cranky and groggy more taking a nap than I ever do a whole
me too.
night's sleep.
I'm like, daggone it. But this guy did say napping is like snacking. If you
Yes.
snack too much, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
If you nap too much, it's not good for you. So
Yeah.
napping, snacking, keep it not too much,
And
right?
I think why you nap, because there was a time when I was younger, Kathy, I would nap not because I was tired. It was because I wanted to not be awake and have my mind feel the anxiety, and I didn't want to
Hmm.
feel all that junk. So I would go to sleep, so I wouldn't have to
Yeah.
think about stuff. Whereas now, like, usually when I take a nap, I'm literally nodding off anyway. I'm like, oh, I need to take a nap. Like, my body's telling me you need to.
Hmm.
But even for that, I'll set my alarm for no more than an hour and a half. But I always, like, to me, if I'm going to take a nap, it's got to be for an hour,
Yeah.
but
You
no
want to
more
get
than
your
an hour and
money.
a half. So between an hour and a half is like my naps. But I'll wake up and it's like I won't. My alarm goes off and I'm like, ah, and I'm disoriented. I think it's like
Yeah.
the morning because my mind's,
It's Tuesday
yeah,
and it's Saturday.
I think it's morning, like time to get up for work because
Yeah.
I'm conditioned myself to feel
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I don't feel like getting up. And then I remember, oh, I took a nap. I got to get up. It takes me
It's a whole thing. Me
three
too.
times as long to completely wake up from a nap
Yeah.
for an hour than it did for 8 hours of
Yeah,
sleep.
but at least you're home alone. I have people in this house. So then they want to talk to me and I'm in a bad mood.
No.
And I'm just like, don't talk to me. Were you asleep? Well, what do you think?
Yeah, I
You
am
know?
I am by far my grumpiest and
Yeah.
grouchiest right after a nap. For like
Me too.
30 minutes after a nap, I'm like
Don't
so
talk.
cranky. And it's so funny. I always tell myself, Jay, you
Yeah.
can't do this anymore because you're cramped. But I'm doing it every time.
Yeah. I
It's so
know.
funny.
I I don't have enough information about this piece, this slide, but somebody could look it up. Maybe, and I will look it up. The mind after midnight. I guess there's some literature on the mind after midnight. I already kind of talked about that between 12 and 4, but they're like that's a time where risky behavior has hopelessness, rumination, where have diminished cognitive control, because we are tired. Your executive functions aren't firing at their best. So, that's like an old thing that I feel like grandmas used to say. Nothing good happens after midnight. And, there might be something to that. I need to look at more of that, but there's some studies about the mind after midnight. Um, but let's talk a little bit more about insomnia. Um, so this guy was talking about insomnia, and there's a gazillion reasons why people can't sleep, I suppose. He did say, now this could be controversial because people believe what they believe, and what works is what they works. And I'm not saying don't do what somebody's told you to do, but he really said the sleep aids don't work. He really is a believer in sleep aids do not work. People take medications for sleep or even the
Melatonin, yeah.
melatonin. He said they don't work. And he also feels, I know people are very attached to, gummies. And he said he feels like that makes the whole situation of insomnia worse. So I'm not saying for people to stop doing what they need to do. I'm just saying that this researcher is saying it's kind of sort of this false belief that they're really helping.
Now, before you get started, Kathy, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Did they define insomnia as not being able to fall asleep or not getting consistently good sleep throughout the night? Or is it both?
So we were talking about,
Because
you
I've
know,
always believed, for whatever reason, that insomnia was defined as those who just took forever to fall asleep, and because of that, got short sleep during the night.
well, he also said there is, he really put it back to habits too. Like he said, there's different, whatever the reason is somebody has insomnia, whether it's hormonal, it's situational, whatever. He's like, you gotta. There's even a therapy for it called CBTI, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. So regular cognitive behavioral therapy, is kind of talk behavior or talk therapy to help you change a behavior, whatever. But he says this is different for sleep. So if somebody was, really wanted to seek some therapy to change their sleep habits, then, you might want to look at somebody that's really trained with that CBTI. I didn't even know there was such a thing, to be honest with you. But and there's all kinds of things that they suggest. But one thing he said was, if you have acute insomnia, like a week or less, he said, don't do anything about it. Just don't. He's like, eventually you're gonna get tired and your body's gonna sleep and break that cycle. He's like, but if stuff's going on, he said it's kind of like if you had a stomach virus, right? If you have a stomach virus, you don't feel like eating. So you're not going to force yourself to eat, right? You wait for it to take its course. So he said, if you're having a short bout of insomnia, just let it work its way out. And he said, what we like to do, and this is what I do because I think it makes sense, but he said, get up. Don't stay in bed. If you can't sleep, get up. Like, because you can almost condition your body force yourself to be in that bed.
Yeah,
So then
too
now
much
you're
pressure on
looking
yourself.
you're looking at the bed and you're like, oh great, I'm not gonna sleep. You look at the bed, there it is, I'm not gonna sleep. So get up. But he said eventually you're gonna wear yourself out and you're gonna sleep. So it's interesting, right? I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
Well, I do agree that I've never heard anybody say, "Well, if you can't sleep, just get up."
Yeah,
Um, although I have heard people say, "If you can't sleep, read a book or do
yeah,
something else." That it's probably the same concept. You're
it
taking
is.
your mind off of the act of trying to sleep because at some point you're like it's almost like you want to shut your eyes tighter and harder to make
Yeah,
you want to try harder to sleep, and we can't. You know, we can want to fall asleep, but we can't. I don't know of anybody that can just like you know fall asleep on command. Like some people can cry on command. I don't know that
yeah,
anybody can just fall asleep like on command, like instantly, unless you have something like narcolepsy or something
yeah.
like that.
I know. Yeah, I didn't study that one, but he
Yeah,
did. But he's like a lot of people take like trazodone, melatonin, magnesium. He's like, some of that may help you relax. Like we like our tea or whatever, but he says it's not going to really, it's not going to correct your sleep. He said this cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia is the number one treatment for insomnia over the
yeah. Because
meds.
in
Number
those,
one.
as I'm thinking about Kathy, there, if you're doing those other things, you're not addressing the reason. You're treating the symptom and not the underlying factor of not being able to get to sleep.
And like with melatonin, he said you can almost give yourself too much. You can give yourself too much, and then you create a different problem because
Well, yeah,
you're
because with melatonin, your body is only going to use what it needs. It's like with protein. People, all these guys, these young
yeah,
kids in the gym are taking 8 kabillion
oh yeah,
grams of protein. Well, if your body
Cabillion.
only needs 100 grams, that's all. All the rest of it's waste. Same with melatonin. It's not. It's only going to use what it needs. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. I will say he did say that CBTI, the cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, it is a combination of your sleep hygiene, relaxation techniques, and cognitive therapy. So it's a little extra besides the therapy, teaching us how to relax, which, this is some of the self care stuff. And then your sleep habits, your sleep hygiene, your sleep habits. And, people for the most part know what they need. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I'm a person that caffeine bothers me for whatever reason. Like I have tried to use caffeine to stay away, stay awake my whole life. It does not help me. I
Yeah, I
still
don't think
knock
I
it
don't.
out.
It doesn't really affect me too much either.
But I do have friends that can't have caffeine after like 2 o'clock, or they say they're up all night. So you got to know your own body. But and they say to stay off the phone before you go to sleep, but like me personally, I refuse to do it. That is part of my wind down, and I am scrolling, looking at reels, giggling like a sixth grade girl. I mean, it's just what I do. It's part of my routine. So I am not negotiating about that, and I know that is not a good role model. I know that, but I do try to stay away from heavy stuff. I'm looking at you know you probably don't even want to know the stupid stuff I'm looking at. But anyway, and I do try to change the lighting on the phone, and at least the phones do kind of allow you to change some of that, but for whatever it's worth. But Shannon Logan, right? That
Yep.
is our friend that came on. She did have a really good suggestion, and have been using it. I'm not saying I'm using it every single night, but she said take a piece of paper. For me, I was doing it on an iPad and I wrote brain dump on it. So take a paper, whatever you want to do, on your phone, on your iPad, whatever you want to do, and just get rid of everything on your brain. Like write it down. And of course, us women probably have a lot more wild stuff, because our brains are like a Rolodex just spinning. But she said she didn't use Rolodex. She probably didn't know what a Rolodex was. She's probably young. But she said it's like computer tabs being open, our brains when we go to sleep. And,
Yep.
or at least Marty's not like that. He is one tab at a time, I can tell you that. But I'll have multiple tabs. Surprise,
So you
surprise.
said he doesn't multitask at all.
God, no, I want him to so bad. I want him to. So she's like, write it down on the brain dump, and then it's like closing out the tabs on your computer before you go to sleep. Those thoughts will come back to you the next day. Don't worry, you haven't getting rid of them forever, but maybe you settle your brain down and write whatever nonsense comes. So it's a little trick to try.
I think it's
Um,
important to talk about, Kathy, also that we our bodies don't require the same amount of sleep every single night. That goes up and down based on what we've done throughout that day or that week or whatever. Um, and those who have more labor intensive jobs. Obviously, their
Yeah.
physical body needs more rest at night. Um, and it's kind of like um, with self care in general. It's like everybody's sleep needs are a little bit different, and men's sleep needs are different from women, and different age brackets have different age need or sleep needs, and so yeah, that although it might be in that same 7 or 8 hour window, there might be one day where I need exactly 7, and then maybe there's another day for whatever reason I might need closer to 8, and that might go up and down, and I probably require less now than I did 30 years ago, and um, yeah, so that number it's not going to jump 4 or 5 hours difference each night, but it may vary an hour here or there, depending on what different variables throughout the day, and male or female, age bracket, all that kind of good stuff.
So that's about. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more that we could talk about, but that was kind of what I had wanted to talk about. Is just starting to have those conversations, and maybe I'm always about do a little evaluation of yourself on whatever topic we're talking about, and where do you lie with that? Where
And that's a good thing. The whole sleep thing, Kathy's good if you're journaling to include how many hours of sleep you got. Keep track of that, and you can go back and like to me, at least for me, the years ago when I was journaling, I got the most benefit when I could go back, and see, okay,
I agree.
10 days ago I had a really good day. Let me go back and look at what happened that day that helped me get to that, and vice versa. Maybe there's a day that's
But your
you wouldn't rate
devices
as
will do it for you now if you wear them.
yeah. But yeah, I'm so fascinated by because you touched on dreams earlier because I dream all the time, and like 90% of them make absolutely no sense to me. There's almost always people in my dreams, but most of the time they're not. I don't. I'm here. It's a conversation. I don't see a face, or they've got their back turned to me, so I don't. There are people there, but I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're strangers. If they're, sometimes there are people that I, in my life or that I know that will show up in a dream, but very seldom.
Yeah.
But I tell you, for me, I have had not so much lately, but there was a period of time where I was having a lot of dreams with the common theme of abandonment. Like, for example, I would go on a trip with friends, and they would wake up and leave me stranded at the hotel with no ride home. Those kind of things. There were
Well,
scenarios like that. There were
that's
different
probably your
scenarios, but they all had
brain.
a common theme of abandonment. That used to happen to me all the
That
time.
was your brain processing some of your past trauma.
Yes, my dreams are much more random and don't seem to have anything like me cooking or just make no sense. Most of my dreams, even me who can usually connect the dots, especially with my own mind and why I do certain things, it's just the wildest thing.
Well,
Um,
speaking of sleep hygiene, what do you do? What is your room like at night? Like I know for us, like in our house, we've got a lot of habits. Like we
TV
all
must
sleep
be
with a
on.
yeah. You're a TV person,
Fan must be on. Both.
so I like the TV. Marty doesn't, so I compromise and I don't do the TV. But I have to have that fan. The fan
Yep.
is going. Like I need the
Yep.
noise.
It could be 10 degrees below zero
Me too.
outside, and I've got a fan on. It doesn't matter.
But our
And here's
kids are conditioned to it. If we go into a bedroom and turn a fan off, they wake up.
Well, I'm the same way with the TV because you know how with Eastern Cable,
Oh yeah, it goes
if
off.
you don't do anything for a while, it kind of goes off and says hit OK to resume.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if
When
we
it
can
does
change
that,
that timer.
I wake up within a
Yeah,
few minutes of that happening. And I always try to put on the USA Network because normally, most nights, it changes sometimes, but Law and Order SVU is on. And I've
yeah.
seen every episode. So it's on, but I'm not tempted to watch it because I've already seen it.
That's
You know what I mean?
funny. Yeah.
Um,
About are
or
you
that or Hallmark, one or the other. So because I've
do you
seen
have
all the Hallmark, so yeah.
do you have to have a really dark room or do you like some light?
Well, the TV's on.
Oh yes, you got a little bit of
Um,
light.
I can well when I take a nap, it's almost always daylight outside. That doesn't really bother me one way or the other. Although I have had times where, rarely, but on those few times where I have a little bit of trouble falling asleep, like the TV, the different brightness with the TV flashing, that bothers me. So I'll cover my face from that. But I've never worn a mask or did it. I've never used sound, on the radio or any kind of on the phone or anything like that.
Now we have night lights in the bathroom, so all our
I
bedrooms are
do too.
upstairs. We have
Yep.
night lights, and I like that kind of light coming
Yes.
off. Um, yeah,
I'm the same way. I have one in the
um,
bathroom and one in the kitchen, so I can get up and walk
yeah,
around without
yeah.
bumping into anything. Because yeah,
One thing I forgot was about sleep apnea. That professor said that 50%. Let me think if I get this right. So of the people not diagnosed, 50% of them have sleep apnea and don't know it.
right,
And I've heard people that have sleep apnea say what a life changing situation when they address that.
right,
Because think about how interrupted their sleep is.
yeah.
And I think there's new gadgets. It doesn't, so you don't look like Darth Vader
You
now.
don't, yeah. There's you don't have to wear the machine, or they're just getting to that point where you don't have to have a CPAP machine. Yeah,
Gosh, maybe I don't know if I said it on one of these podcasts or not, but I guess this must be. I don't know if this is sleep month. If March is sleep month, there's always a month for something or
yeah.
sleep. So I've seen a lot, or I'm paying more attention to it. But I think there is some kind of sleep thing going on in March. But the Today Show had a story about this woman. Did I say it on here that she was having like dementia like
Mm,
um, symptoms and her daughter went and got a sleep study for some other reason, not dementia, but while she was attending the meeting or the not meetings, sessions, whatever, with her daughter, they tested her too and found out that she's got like horrible sleep apnea, and they addressed it, and then the woman just like her symptoms went away. Of course, they were thinking she was having a really bad chronic health condition that was irreversible, and then it was all due to sleep.
yeah.
So, gosh, check it out, man. If you're not sleeping or you got stuff going on, get it checked out.
It's important that you sleep well, sleep enough, and it's important that you're doing the self care so that you're less stressed and less. You have less things that are going to keep you from sleeping to begin with. That's a they go hand in hand. They're partners. Self
Yeah.
care and sleep, they're cause and effect. They are like partners in crime with getting us through life in a healthy way, along with a lot of other things. But sleep's extremely important for sure.
Oh, and alcohol too. I forgot about alcohol. Alcohol makes people sleep horribly. We might
Well,
think it knocks us out.
because it constricts the blood vessels and it just the circulation's all out of whack. That's a pretty easy one to explain.
Well, that's good to know. I didn't know why, but I've always heard people say, "Oh, take a strong drink and you'll knock out," but really they have horrible sleep. Because how many times do you? Um, I've said this before. Like I've woken up and I'm like, my gosh, what a horrible night of sleep. I feel like I drank all night and I didn't. So it's
Passing out and going to sleep are two different things.
yeah, right. That's true. But I mean, I think you can easily correlate. Like maybe you thought, it's sleep, lack of sleep or interrupted sleep, whether it's alcohol or something else, makes you feel horrible in the
Yeah.
morning. Horrible.
So, so yeah, before we get out of here, Kathy, let's
Yep.
real quick talk about some things we've been watching lately. So,
Let's do it.
what about you guys?
Did I say this? I don't know if I said this. This is bad when I'm not remembering what I said in another podcast. Did I tell you about the Blue Zone stuff I was watching? Or did
Yep,
we talk about did we
yep,
talk
you told
about
me
it
that.
on the
Yep,
show on this?
yep. Hmm.
Okay, so I haven't done anything since the Blue Zone. Still looking at the
Have you
Blue Zone.
finished Murders?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Murders is done.
Yep.
Can't wait for it to come back. I just do want to put another plug for the Netflix series Live to 100. The study of the blue zone areas in our world where people are the largest concentration of people living to 100. It's just interesting to me because there's a lot of self-care tips in those 4 episodes. I just really like that series. But besides that, we watched The Buzzer Beater,
Oh
Marilyn,
yeah.
Guys, Maryland game. That was
The Maryland women had a good one last night. They won in double overtime.
I know, man.
They were losing by a lot and came back and won in double overtime.
I didn't see the women's game, but the boys told me about it. But that men's game, I'm like, you're just
Freshman.
watching it. I'm like,
Freshman won the game.
they are gonna totally lose. They're done. They're done. They're done. I mean, then I didn't even know what happened. I was like, what just happened? This is crazy. Everybody's going nuts. What an exciting time, right? Sports, Maryland
Um,
sports.
what was I going to say? See, I went and saw Snow White this
Hmm.
past Friday. We talked about that a little bit before we started recording. It was okay. Like I was saying earlier before we started, the episode. I kind of thought that the Seven Dwarfs were kind of the star of the show to me. Um,
Now, what was the deal with them? Were they AI generated?
they were, yes, they were, yeah, just like the new Lion King, just like the How to Train Your Dragon is about to come out. It's called live action. So yeah, the people were real. All the actors were the actors; they were real. But the Seven Dwarfs were computer generated. Yes, um, but it was just there you've got seven different personalities, and it's kind of like Inside Out, but instead of emotions, it's personality traits, and they all play their roles, and there's funny ones, and there's bashful ones, and there's Doc who's the leader, and Grumpy kind of
Wait, let me
he's
see if
kind
I
of
can name
still.
them all. Let's do it. Doc, happy?
Yep,
Is there a happy?
yep,
Grumpy,
yep,
sneezy,
yep,
dopey,
yep. Bashful.
bashful.
Did you say Sneezy?
Yeah. Who am I missing?
She says them in alphabetical order real quick.
Oh man, I'm missing a seventh.
Dopey, Doc, Sneezy, Happy, Grumpy, Bashful,
Do we say Doc?
Doc.
Doc.
Doc. That's those are the seven. Yeah.
That's a good trivia question there.
And yeah, and it's so funny. And they're at least in this. What they say they were on the movie? They were 135 years old or something
Really,
crazy.
that's a good trivia question.
that,
135.
it was a big number, whatever it was. It was like because Snow White was like, "You're that old." But yeah, it was okay. It didn't do well at the box office at all. They said it's not one of, or if not the worst opening night for a Disney
Yeah, I did
movie
hear that.
in a long, long time. Um, it's just it's still not quite movie season really either. It's kind of tough. Um,
Well, and like I was saying earlier, I think there's a lot of before we got on, there's a lot of controversial stuff in the actors maybe
well, the
saying some
two
things about the movie.
Rachel Ziegler and Gal Gadot, who played Wonder Woman,
Oh,
they're the
what
two
was
lead
her
characters.
position? Gal's position was what? Or
She was
position.
the evil. She was the evil
She
queen.
was the evil queen. Okay, okay,
Yep.
okay.
And she did okay. I mean, she's been a hero. She played freaking Wonder Woman, and she
She did.
so
She played a good. I can
and
still
she
hear the
was a
music when y'all see her in the movies. I still the.
yep, and she played a hero in Fast and Furious, and
Yeah.
so we just it's kind of tough, but I mean, she did okay. Um, it's a musical. There's the songs that we're all familiar with when we were kids. It wasn't as many singing times as Wicked, so I
Mhm.
liked that about it. It was less singing, but at least I was familiar with these songs, whereas I was not familiar with the songs from Wicked, other
Yeah.
than Defying Gravity. All the other songs I did not know at all, whereas
Mhm.
these songs I knew because you know, I'd seen Snow White growing up on the Wonderful World of Disney on
Oh yeah.
Sunday evenings at 7 o'clock on
They need to bring
ABC.
that back. They need to bring that back. Don't you
Yeah,
think?
so and I've been watching Reacher on
Oh, I heard that was
Amazon
back.
Prime. It's season three
Is it
it started.
done? Is it got the whole season, or is it one a
It's
week?
it's three. It's I'm caught up. It's not done. It's almost done this season.
Mhm.
Um, season one was good. That was before COVID.
Yeah,
Season
we
two,
saw. I think I can't remember if we've seen one or two seasons of that, but I really enjoyed that.
season two, I did not like nearly as much. Season three is good again. So one and
Okay,
three have been good. This is a good season. Um,
we'll have to. I gotta get my list of things again.
but it's going to be. I think Stranger Things and the new season of Only Murders are going to be roughly like late summer, early in fall this year.
We're gonna be busy.
So we'll have some good stuff.
I'm not. I got a feeling I'm not going to be able to contain myself with Stranger Things. I'm either going to be shook or
Well,
I don't know.
it's gonna be the
Sad.
last season. It's just been so long
You might have
since
to
the last.
rewatch.
Yeah, I'll rewatch the last season for sure. That's probably the first season and the last and season 1 and season 4 were my favorites by far.
Wait,
The
what's the one
middle
part?
two,
Which season was when they were in the mall?
that was
That might be
probably
three.
two. It's got to be
I think
two or three. It wasn't
it was
one.
three. I think it was
It
three.
wasn't one because the redheaded girl I don't know was in season 1 or she was. It was late.
Well, they
Matt.
remember they were in they worked the Scoops ice cream place or whatever that was. Remember?
Well, yeah, the dude,
Yes, Steve.
the dude, and
Yeah. Oh,
um,
was it the sister?
and Uma Thurman's daughter, my heart.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
she
yeah.
looks just like her mother. Gosh, she looks like her mother.
She does. Yeah.
But
Anyway, I thought that was a fun season.
Millie Bobby Brown has been going around doing press tours for
Actually,
the Electric State, the one she just got released on Netflix. Her and Chris Pratt did a movie. It's actually pretty good.
oh,
But
I haven't seen that.
they've been asked. It's on Netflix.
Okay,
It was
it's good.
released right to Netflix. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Huh.
They've been asking her about the Stranger Things, and she's like, "Yeah, it was sad because she started on that when she was 9,
Oh
and she
wow.
just turned 22, just got married.
Yeah.
So you go back to the very. I remember her. The first time I remember seeing her was on Godzilla as the
Hmm.
one scientist's daughter who was very.
She was younger.
She was like 8 or 9 in
Oh
that.
wow.
She's only
Huh.
22 now.
I didn't realize that she had anything before Stranger Things.
Yeah, that was. And
I
she
think
probably
she's
had other
adorable.
things I just don't know. But she was in God.
Hey, did
She
you
was.
watch that where she was Sherlock Holmes' sister, Anoya Holmes?
Enola Holmes. No,
Did
but
you
she
watch
did a
that?
movie. Not the last movie she did before this one,
Hmm.
Electric State, was with a dragon. I'm trying to remember. She played. She's basically a hero. Yeah,
I
it's.
did like her though in that Anoya Holmes.
I did not see that.
She's just I like her as an actress. I think
It's just strange that she married John Bon Jovi's son.
I know, right? And he's really changing in his looks. He's just so grown up now. I guess.
And they live on a farm in Atlanta, and
Really?
they have like a million animals.
I
Like
didn't know
like
that.
she is a like legit farmer.
Really? Can
Yes,
you?
I can.
Can you
Doesn't surprise me about her, but I can't see him doing that.
I know. Can he sing? What does he do? Does he do anything?
He's an actor and a model
Well, he's a
because
cutie.
he's real tall. He's real tall, like tall,
I
and
wonder if he can sing.
I don't know, but he has done some acting, some small stuff.
We need to
Um,
bust out some "Living on a Prayer" when I hear it.
um, yeah, because she was just interviewed on one of the podcasts I listened to
Oh
on
yeah.
Talking Daddy, and she was talking about her wedding, and she did instead of doing they did a instead of doing a first dance, they did a 6 minute long choreographed Grease medley
They did.
thing. Yep, and she was nervous about what music she was going to play at her wedding because her father-in-law is a freaking rock star, so she had to like get like everybody's approval for like what music they were going to do and all.
Oh
But
my gosh.
her wedding was not very conventional at all. Yeah,
Did Bon Jovi sing?
she didn't say anything about that, but she said that John Bon Jovi's wife is like an amazing dancer. Like she is a like
Oh
legit
wow.
like, and they were high school sweethearts.
Oh really? I didn't know
Yep.
that.
So they've been together like forever, literally since they were
Hmm.
teenagers, and
Hmm.
they're what in their 60s now.
Yeah, I think so.
So they've been
Wow.
together for 40 some years. That's pretty rare for a rock star to be with the same person for.
Boy, that's a star-studded family right there,
Oh yeah. Um,
right?
and yeah, she told stories about like because she's like, oh yeah, my parents are weird, and I was like worried when Jake Bon Jovi was gonna. We went on an RV trip. That was the first time he was hung out with my family, and like they had the radio blaring and we're all singing, and he just like joined in. She's like, yep, I knew he was a keeper at that point because they were like the parents were trying to test him and being like extra weird, She's like, oh yeah, my parents were like really seeing how much she was going to fit in.
Her parents.
Yeah, yes.
Mm.
Because she was like, because Alex Cooper asked her, she's like, what about when you met his parents? And she's like, complete opposite. Like they're all put together and like they're not crazy they're like the two sets of parents could not be more different. Like
Now, does her
at all.
parents live? No, they don't live in the States.
No, they're in England. She's from England. Remember,
Yeah.
she's got the accent and all. They live. Well, you know what? I think she bought them a place right next to where she lives. But I mean, they're from
Uh,
England, but she lives. They live next. They're next door neighbors now in
so
Atlanta.
they are here now. They are here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So yeah,
Like the
that's pretty.
English countryside,
Yeah,
right in
but it's
Atlanta.
in Atlanta.
No,
But
Atlanta was like
she's
this.
like told how many animals she said. It's crazy. I mean, like that's a
Wow.
legit farm, like a
Now that's a
legit.
kid that's been under that microscope, hasn't she? Like
Oh
just
yeah.
look. I mean, and I saw that one post she did about people commenting about her,
Oh yeah.
and that's just sad, right?
And,
But
and it's so true with child, especially with child actors, that you kind of in the public's eye, in the fans' eye, you remain the age that they first remember. Like if you become famous at
right,
10, Drew Barrymore kind of had that for a while.
yeah,
He's kind of been able to work through it, but she's remembered as the ET girl. So in our fan minds, she's 10 or whatever age she was, even
yeah.
though now she's
Wait, Gertie, right? Gertie,
yep,
she was darn cute. Man,
yep.
she was cute.
And it's the same with her. She was,
Yeah.
8, 10 years old when she was
11.
first.
No, her name is 11.
Yeah,
11 was 10.
and now she's, 20. She can drink now, so now she look. We all look different at 22 than we did at 10. All of us.
Yeah, yeah, but it is weird. I agree. And a lot of those young, golly, a lot of those young actors have had so much trouble. If you think of Britney, Justin Bieber, that gosh, what's the one, Amanda? Is it
Bonds.
Bynes?
Oh
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, that poor
just
child.
man.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Shoot, there are some adults that can't handle being famous, let alone when you're a kid.
yeah, yeah. We don't really support them probably as good as, and people are so daggone mean,
Yeah.
with comments. It's like, let them be.
Yeah,
Sheesh.
it's hard. It's probably way harder now,
Yeah.
no matter what age you are, to be famous than
And
it's
how do
ever
you
been.
not read the comments that people make, because you want feedback and you want to be good at your craft, and then people say such horrible stuff, and then they're like, it's got to be devastating.
I
Because how
tell
can you
you
really
what I've
say
seen a lot lately is Selena Gomez and her fiance Benny
that?
Blanco.
Hmm.
I see them everywhere, and their content is just so cool. It's so
Really?
like the two of them. Like at first glance, you're like you scratch your head, but as you watch the two of them interact,
Yeah.
and they just released an album together, I did
Okay.
not realize how many freaking hit songs he's written and produced.
Him.
Yes, like like Maroon Five and Rihanna and Britney.
Really?
Like the list is like crazy.
Wow. Wow.
So like he's
He's on the
showing up.
backside of
So now
music.
the two of them are doing the press tour for there. They just released an album together. He actually wrote
So
her songs for her years ago.
so is he singing, or is he writer and musician?
He's writer producer.
Writer producer. Okay.
Yes, but he's written and produced for I mean
And
so
he's not,
many.
and he's young, right?
He's mid 30s.
Okay.
Like I remember him doing some stuff with Halsey and some other stuff.
Hmm.
But I did not. If you just Google songs that Benny Blanco has written or produced, like the list is
Wow.
ridiculous.
Wow.
I'm like, and he actually there's this kid who's a content creator, and what he does is he goes and talks to record producers, and he's been
Hmm.
talking to Benny Blanco. It's this
There you go.
series of interviews, and he's been telling him the story of how these songs came to be. And Diamonds, that song Diamonds that Rihanna did,
Yeah, I remember that.
well, it was done in 10 minutes. Like, and he didn't have all the equipment he needed, and so he just kind of threw something together, and it was one of the biggest hits he's ever done.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Cool.
So anyway, so
Yeah.
guys, thanks for joining us. Hope you learned some stuff about sleep, and we're glad you joined us. And tune in next time. We'll catch you next time on Eastern Shore Talk. Take care,
Get some
guys.
sleep. Get some sleep.